Hi, everybody. Happy Thursday. Thank you so much for being here. We actually have a beautiful fall sunny day today, so super excited. I'm missing my co-host, my secondhand woman, Megan. She's unable to be here today, but we still have such a great guest with us, and we're super excited to dive in because we have Hans Vogel here, who is the CEO of Triverus. How are you doing today, Hans?
I'm doing great. Yeah, the sun's out. We're settled into fall, so
Yep.
it's really nice to know where we stand on that. So
Nope, definitely fall weather. It has been nice though, at least sunny, because I'm just like, I know winter's right around the corner and I'm not sure if
yeah,
I'm totally ready for that yet,
we're
but I
ready.
am
We'll be
in fall
ready.
colors. I know every year it just hits us, but it's good. We're Alaskans. We got it.
We had a really good summer. It's as good as it
We
gets.
did. We
Yeah,
did. And honestly, this fall, I'm not mad about so far. It's been a beautiful fall. So
absolutely. Yeah, and
we're
that's why
ready.
we're here. We ultimately we did a hardware startup, obviously, and we just happened to live in Alaska, so we're like, hey, we've got to build some of this capacity and do this stuff here. This is where our families are. We want our kids to come back, and that kind of stuff. So and we want a fantastic work environment that's not as cyclical. So those are some of the goals that we have.
No, absolutely. I mean, I'm a born and raised Alaskan here, so I feel like those are the people that like work here is like in manufacture here because it's a tough place to manufacture. But you fall in love with Alaska. Once you're in Alaska, you just kind of are like, man, I don't want to leave.
I don't know what I was thinking, but yeah, here we are.
So to dive in, I've got some great questions lined up for you. But let's, for people that don't know you and are not familiar with your business, let's share a little bit about your background, how you became the CEO of Triverus, and what inspired you to enter the manufacturing industry.
Yeah, it's a really long story. I don't know who would be interested in hearing it, but I had two partners, some close friends from school, and we came up with this proposal, an actual SBIR proposal with the Navy, and basically approached the Navy and said, "Hey, we want to, we think you've got a cool demand signal here for a piece of equipment that is unique. We kind of see a technical approach on how to get into that, and we articulated that very early on in 2001, and I think we did it well enough." Demonstrated well enough that we had a vision for this product that really didn't exist in the marketplace. It's gone on to partnerships, things like that happen. Early stage companies, those are hard things to do. So I became CEO after a couple of valleys of death, and we had to part ways. Just definitely not enough at that time to support three families. In sort of startup mode. I remember our adjusted gross income, at least mine, was like $33,000 or something like that. So it was some good times, and taking summers off, that kind of stuff, to build houses and things. So it's scrappy stuff in the beginning, for sure, and it's always scrappy.
No, I feel like manufacturers always have to be scrappy. Can you share? Yeah. So what was there a problem? Like what made you be like, yep, this is what I'm going to
we're trying to build. We're trying to build, a machine that weighs 12,000 pounds. So and ship it out of Alaska. So it's high value. So that's not the big deal part of it. It's a technology piece of equipment. It's about as complex as a helicopter, let's say. It's a fully qualified flight deck cleaning vehicle on flight decks, on all flight decks on L class and CVN class carriers. Works really well. It's been tested. We have some spin-off commercial products that are viable in the environmental space, in stormwater pollution prevention, impervious runoff for industrial stormwater spaces, city spaces, and now a new product that's scaled up for street level cleaning at a much higher level than conventional capabilities. And we're talking about removing materials from the stormwater system, or maintaining the stormwater system in each case, which contribute to killing salmon or killing other low-lying wildlife, flora, fauna in the stormwater system. So it's a pretty meaningful product. It's a hardware startup, so the bigger challenges are we didn't really have the organic manufacturing vendor support capability in Alaska. So we couldn't just call up a job shop and say, hey, you got a laser, you got a water jet, you've got bending equipment, forming equipment, welding fabrication. Yeah, sure. Welding fabrication. Yes, it exists. 5-axis CNC machining at that time. No, and so we just started basically one piece at a time building. I would say it's a twofold approach. We're working with a customer and basically saying, hey, we're gonna make this product. It's going to be really great. And then on the other side, organically building the Trijet, which is our sister company, which is a company that now serves a lot of other manufacturers in the state with those same manufacturing processes. In fact, at this point, Trijet is largely doing business with other companies, not Triverus. And we're in kind of a low spot, as it turns out, in the contracting cycle and business cycle. So the resiliency to manufacture things for other people, keeping those processes alive and well. And in the beginning, we had to actually just, really put the cart before the horse. And that's a hard thing to do. People tell you not to do that. Maybe I shouldn't have done that, but you're going to have to. And in some cases, we develop vendors with other companies here in the state. People like again, making wire harnesses and Alaska rubber. Lots of good vendor relationships where we wouldn't want to duplicate those capabilities, but in some cases, where the primary manufacturing has to be done, we had to build that capacity.
No, absolutely. Okay, so if I'm understanding correctly, it sounds like you guys essentially had this thought, this dream. You're like, okay, we're gonna start manufacturing this 12,000. Do you say 12,000 pound machine?
Yeah,
but
it's heavy. It has to,
then where are you gonna go? How are you gonna do that? And so then it sounds like then your sister company came into life to help kind of bring those pieces together.
Yeah. I mean, just some crazy stuff. Like we bought this used water jet that ran on DOS for like $20,000 sight unseen. And we went and picked it up in Pennsylvania and like drove it up the Alcan kind of stuff. Got that thing working, up and going. At that time, I think there might have been another water jet in the state. 3 water jets later, we're now buying new machines, which is really cool because you don't have to mess with them as much. But that's the sort of capacity building we had to do in the beginning to just have that capability. We knew we needed it, and just kind of put our shoulder into it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And when did Triverus get started?
In 2001.
2001. Okay. And what was your background? Did you always knew that you were going to be in the manufacturing field? And
I mean, I have a welding engineering metallurgy background.
Okay.
I actually worked for a company called Newport News Shipbuilding in Virginia, which builds aircraft carriers and submarines.
Oh, wow.
It's about the only commonality. I don't think those two knew each other or existed, but it was a really interesting juxtaposition where, I was very disappointed with, 14 layers of management and that sort of shipyard environment. It was very engaging from a technology perspective and materials joining, and absolutely perfect job right out of university. But I didn't want to make my home there for personal reasons, and we decided to come to Alaska. And there are some corporate culture drivers there, and I was like, hey, I want to work with cool people, and I want to work on cool stuff. And that was actually the criteria, more than like, hey, let's get into the cleaning business.
Right.
It was more about that cultural concept. We took a lot, and this is an MEP broadcast. And by the way, we just finished our first ISO 9000 audit without exception. So that's kind of cool. And Danielle did a really great job growing from Danielle and everybody in that shop, in the Trijet shop, building the the corporate culture and mentality for quality control, and learning the lessons, the Toyota model, lean manufacturing model stuff. Those are really big influences in design and our corporate culture. I think, at some point you lose some of that and you decide, which parts of it you can adopt. But those are really inspiring concepts for me personally. And the continuous improvement, Kaizen rapid improvement events, try to fix something before it breaks. Just start fixing things as a routine. I don't know. We're probably not practicing what we preach on all of that stuff. But the general concepts of, flat managed systems, an issue is best understood by the person closest to, not hierarchy, but closest to the problem. So engaging, communication and corporate culture to where there's room for failure in the innovation process, but also in the quality and improvement process, so that the improvements can be made.
No, absolutely. And I'm so thrilled to hear about the ISO audit and how successful that was.
It was
Super
cool.
loved getting to work with Danielle with that.
Yeah.
So I'm going to have to give her a call and congratulate
You
her as
should.
well. So
It was a big
amazing.
one. It's been a dramatic, last year, I'll be quite honest. It's been, we've just gone through a lot of changes in both organizations. And, we've got a new product that we're getting ready to launch. We're really excited about it. And it's an at scale. We have a product called the MCV, the Municipal Clean Vehicle. It's a derivative of the technology we built for the Navy. We've sold it in other places in the world, all over the Pacific Northwest, Northeast. The machine's all over the place. And it's been an industry leader machine in stormwater pollution prevention for the last 13 years. And we now have put our efforts together in the last 4 years. And we're building a much larger scale model, a street version model of that piece of equipment. And so we're super excited about it.
Oh my gosh, that sounds some very exciting things happening there at Triverus.
Yeah.
No, I love it. And thank you so much for sharing that. I wanted to kind of dive into Triverus focusing on, innovative solutions for manufacturers. Can you elaborate on some of the key technologies that you've introduced to enhance your operational efficiency?
We had to learn a lot of things from the scratch, so to speak, right? Like just simple engineering design, tracking, PLM, product lifecycle management systems, on the back end. Like how do you build drawings? How do you track which drawings are which? How do you then build an MRP system on the back of that? And again, these cultural, like, hey, we built it, like, what do you want us to do now, kind of thing. Well, yeah, we were going to reproduce these and we're build a supply chain, figure out how much it costs to make these, and so on and so forth, right? So building back end manufacturing data systems, or implementing them, let's say, we built them and implemented them over the years, both. And you start that process with, a piece of 3D digital modeling software. Excuse me. And that's what we focused on in the beginning. We were good at that. But you can spit out a lot of drawings that are just, by the time you've got a 12,000 pound machine and hundreds of vendors, you've got an absolute rat's nest. So if you don't have a way to, manage that data, there's no chance of even knowing if you're making money or probably making money at all.
Right.
And certainly not reproducing your quality product at that time. So that was hard. And that's like, okay, wow, spend 3 years and hundreds of thousands of dollars on an MRP system implementation. That's crazy. Like,
Right.
wouldn't we rather have a laser, or something else? And I think those are some of the harder decisions. Again, some of the tools themselves are really important, especially 5-axis CNC machining, milling and turning, water jet, powder coating, VOC free work environment, that kind of stuff. Those are all big ticket items that have to be bought, implemented. We've put in 3 different VOC-free powder coating systems. I've resisted using solvent-based paints in our process. We fought tooth and nail with the Navy, and then we've just because of worker safety, and really worked hard on that. So, again, influenced by other manufacturing environments and seeing I'm skipping ahead a little on one of your questions about sustainability, but sustainability is just like having your employees not die. So
it sounds like when you're there's like so much to go off of in that, but it sounds like, what would you say is, sometimes you don't really, I guess, see the reward until it's like implemented like a few years down the line, because a lot of it, it's a huge expense, like getting these innovative machines and implementing them in. A lot of times you might not really.
The spray system thing was
3
crazy.
years, you said.
Was absolutely nuts, because it's so easy to, and I'm not saying we've never sprayed anything, but we spent so much money on that process, because it is a sustainable process that we can manage the waste stream. We can manage the worker exposure, and moreover, we can manage the product quality. And we had to making that case was absolutely crazy. If I could tell you some of the absolute battles we had with the Navy on it, because spray systems are easier to rework. It's cheaper, it's just cheaper, in the end. Is it cheaper? But infrastructure wise, it's not. So, we just had to stand firm on those kinds of concepts. And I've looked at other pieces of gear, in the field, let's just say with similar exposure, to the ocean and harsh environments and so on, littoral, shoreside type environments. And our stuff holds up like immensely better. So it's pretty cool to see that. That is a payback, but that takes a decade to make that case sometimes. And so, I don't know which hill you're going to die on, and some of them, probably not worth it. I don't know. We'll see.
What would you say? So kind of getting this wasn't one of your questions, but what would you say has been the best technology that you've implemented that you were like, oh my goodness, it was such a hard decision, but now we did it and we reaped the reward?
It's powder. Oh yeah. I mean, that one, for us to get to the quality and the consistency that we needed, we probably spent too much money on it, and we're certainly feeling that right now. But we were able to deliver, like $40 million worth of these things on time through the entire COVID process, over a period of 5 years. So we were at this full rate production. Of course, the Navy, constantly dogged us and said, "Hey, we don't think you can do this." They underfunded us. They underfunded our entire calculus on quantity. So we had our hands tied behind our backs, and because we had disciplined ourselves to deliver these things at a certain rate, and we committed to that, that process had our back every single time. Once we got it implemented, we were able to reduce the things that would happen at 90% completion. So at 90% completion, the paint and then assembly, that's happening way at the end of the whole, that's called a fishbone, right? The timeline for assembly. Okay. And, in this case, it was 2 months of where we're actively assembling 2 units for 2 months. That was our full rate production. And at that point, if we had a coatings issue and had to go into rework, we would not get paid. We would lose on those weeks, if not months, of bullshit regarding quality control, because it happened at the very end, and we couldn't control that process. So that saved. And there were people within the organization. I don't know. I'm going to toot my horn on that one a little bit. Again, the horn, it goes. I don't know. It cuts both ways.
Right.
Absolutely.
It
was expensive to do that.
But sounds
And
like
we,
well worth it. It had your back, and you were
yeah, it
super.
did have our back. And in the end, though, that process, we still have it. It kind of sits idle at this point. It's kind of sad. We were betting on being a more of a major player on the rework side of this, and we'll see how that goes. We're working on that
Okay.
now. So we were looking again at the sustainability side of this, hoping to be part of the Navy's life cycle management of these vehicles over time, getting them to change their head on sending machines up to Alaska to get reworked at 3.5 and 7 years. And
Right.
so that's a tough case to be made. Alaska has a stigma, even though we delivered on time every single time. Um, there's just stigma challenges. People want to do things close in, and some of that makes sense. I don't think it makes financial sense. I think we're a center of excellence for this platform. It's been extremely successful for them, but we have to
Absolutely.
make those cases all the time.
Right. The logistical challenges in Alaska is just, I feel like that's,
Yeah. I mean, if we
yeah,
can get that scale stuff, I mean, would you order something from Germany?
yeah. I mean, when you've got the case to be made, I mean, absolutely.
I mean, you could get a really sweet car from Germany. It's a lot farther.
Right. You make a good point. And that kind of brings us perfectly into the next question, which is some of the biggest challenges that you think that manufacturers are currently facing and how can they adapt and stay competitive in today's market?
Yeah, I think it's just communication tools. I think that some of the things that, there were certain advisors along the way, you know, the hardware startup model that we took, and I think
Mhm.
we bit off a lot to chew um, on big pieces of equipment and stuff like that, that we weren't able to be as nimble. So I think collaborating with other people that have processes and technology, sharing capacity, that sounds really great. I mean, I think those are startup things that you do, and then as you get to full capacity, I'll be honest, it's not the greatest story every single time. What ends up happening is people get acquired and they leave, and we've
Yeah.
seen that happen. Trijet participated in a company called Envision CMOS X-ray. In fact, Kai Holland, who's now running for State House, you guys probably know him. He's fantastic, and I worked with him
Mhm.
early on in that space, and they were selling smaller pieces of equipment, technology-based manufacturing. It's really brilliant stuff for non-destructive testing and X-ray, real-time video X-ray for pipeline inspection, that kind of stuff. We built a lot of their hardware, and when the company came along to acquire them, the MO was just to move them out of the state, so they lost the jobs. Some people stayed on, but pretty much scattered to the wind that capacity and capability. I am proud to say that we're still a vendor with that company, and it's still a significant part of Trijet's revenue. We did lose their revenue for about a year, maybe a year and a half, so we kind of have to follow them down to Houston and ended up following
Okay.
them back over to Massachusetts. But that's more of a customer service play, and
Okay.
just sticking with them in their product cycle and understanding what they do, and just paying attention so that they you don't want to do business with anybody else.
No, absolutely. And keeping, yeah, I mean, it sounds like you really had to like stay with them. So would you say like a biggest challenge is like
Yeah.
communication and then really just like having the tenacity to like adapt and stay with it? And it sounds like you have, and that's why they've kept you on.
Yeah, I mean, people will press the easy button every single time. I mean, they want to give you money, and if you give them a part, like you say, look, one of our bigger cases early on was like, hey, we're machining some stuff for you right now, but let's do some coatings and let's do some assembly. Let's give you this whole thing. You just have to let's be ahead of things.
Right.
And I mean, there's so many cool companies, especially in the aerospace sector up here. There's a bunch of companies that are doing really cool things. Some of them that we're working with, and I think those are cool Alaskan companies.
No, absolutely. And I know we kind of touched on this a little bit about sustainability and some of the efforts that Triverus has taken in manufacturing. And so can we just dive in a little bit for clients? So you sounds like you brought in some sustainability initiatives. What are the benefits you've seen from bringing in these sustainability pieces?
Sustainability to me is cash flow and writing checks every 2 weeks. Not planning your dental work around cash flow
Right.
emergencies.
What are some of the initiatives it sounded like you brought in that was a huge sustainability piece? And you said it was costing a lot of money, it sounded like, right? But what was it doing? Can you give a
Yeah,
little bit
so
more?
powder coating.
Okay.
In this case, you have coating systems, and anybody that's sprayed paint in any case, that there's these things called volatile organic compounds, VOCs, that have to be managed, and you're never going to get away completely from that kind of stuff. But when you walk into a shop and it smells like you've just stuck your head into a plastic bag of nail polish remover, this might not be a very sustainable place to have your head. And so,
Sure.
making those commitments to like, hey, the automotive industry has gone through these processes. I literally was at Lowe's yesterday. I was picking up a piece of the dishwasher, and there was this veteran that was there. We'll move on.
Okay. I'm sorry. Um, Finally, I wanted to share, and it's totally okay to have these big, real, authentic emotions. So I thank you so much for being here and sharing the story. But the last question I have for you is one key piece of advice you would share with aspiring entrepreneurs, business owners to have the, tenacity and the scrappiness to kind of do what you've been doing.
You'll know who you are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You'll know if you've got it in you or not, essentially.
I think these are self-selected people that do this stuff. I don't think you can I think encouragement can happen, and I think reaching out to other people, communicating to people, getting a mentor.
Okay. Did you have a mentor in the beginning, like getting started, or?
Plenty, yeah. I've talked about a few of them. Yeah.
Okay. Nice. So that was really like a big thing that helped you kind of get
Oh
you
yeah,
to where you are today.
tons. Oh, tons. Yeah, tons of people. Yeah.
So basically finding the community and mentorship to
Yeah. Yeah.
continue
Yeah.
on with your passion.
Yeah. We have an angel investor, Eric McCallum. He's worked with us, very closely for a long time. Kai Holland is another good one.
Yep.
He actually was instrumental in in our early stage, helping us with a lot of the again the sort of manufacturing communication, supply chain type communications, and he's just he really understood those concepts well, and and it was a valuable thing for us to be able to do business with that other business that kind of knew those things, and they forced us into learning those pathways on again, not just throwing receipts in a shoebox kind of thing, but these
Right.
are things you have to learn as a startup. Yeah.
Right. No, absolutely. The more you know, the more connected, building that community, because you kind of don't know what you don't know. And then other people can kind of build those bridges for you.
Absolutely. Yeah. And again, it's hard to hire, people that you don't think is upfront is useful. There's just, you have to really reach out to a multidisciplinary group of people to pull something off. I think, at a certain scale, you're going to have to, you have to change your hat a whole bunch of times. And, for me, it was like, hey, I kind of started from the technical side of things and manufacturing and, I know how to make things or whatever. But that was not what I needed to be doing. Like there's other people that could do that better than me, even the design for sure. And the manufacturing and so on. It's like, it's like, you have to end up changing your role quite a few times.
Oh, absolutely. And it's great to recognize like what you just said. Like sometimes you're doing something and you're like, okay, this isn't really what I want to be doing, or there's going to be someone like better fitted in this role. And manufacturers wear so many hats. I mean, really, you do. You kind of got to be able to juggle and do everything.
You got to get. I mean, I don't know. Again, from like what size of business and so on. I think it's pretty important to sort of get out of the engine room, so to speak.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I'm going to throw one more curveball at you. One last question, if you don't mind.
Nice.
Looking forward into this next year, what are you most excited, most looking forward to with Triverus?
Well, we're looking at two things. It's always going to be hopefully more than one. We really want to transition our business on the Navy side to a life cycle focused. So we've produced a lot of machines. We think the Navy is going to probably buy some more of those. There might be some additional product sales, but we want to be part of the maintenance and operations and life cycle management of those vehicles. But moreover, the most important part is just really getting our green tech environmental side up and really going at scale. And that means, like right now we have a machine that can clean, 30 minutes at a time. It's great for smaller spaces like parking garages and sidewalks and things like this. But it's not that great for an at scale, like street sweeper scale machine. And so we have a product that's waiting in the wings, getting ready to go into a demo cycle. So, getting that out there, and we've been talking to customers and they've been asking for it, even speccing a product that doesn't exist in some cases, which is really a giant achievement for a company to try to sell something that doesn't exist. Yeah.
Well, it sounds like there's super exciting things happening then. I'm super excited for you to be able to roll that out. And, you're giving the people what they want. It sounds like they've been asking for it. And
totally.
So,
yeah, they want it. And we've talked to them, of course. Yeah, they're going to give us money when we can pull it out of our hat.
No, that is super exciting. So I'm super excited for you and Triverus, and thank you so much for taking the time to come on and share your different tips and what got you into the manufacturing business. I know a lot of people will be super excited to tune in and hear all about it. And please be sure we do these every other Thursday. This is the month of October, so we're going to have 3 lives this month. So we're super excited. Tune in on noon, and thank you so much for being here, Hans. I had such a great
Thank you so much.